So in this video, we're going to deploy a REST API to the Heroku server for the mobile app we're going to make in the next video. So in order to deploy the API, I'm going to use Heroku. That's where we're going to deploy our APIs to and everything we did. So I'm going to type in here heroku.com, www.heroku.com. So this is where we're going to deploy the APIs to. We're going to follow the Heroku documentation. You're going to see how that is done. You will learn how that's done step by step. So this is the Heroku website. I am currently logged in, so I'm going to log out, and then if you don't have an account, you have to create an account with the Heroku, but I already have my account, so simply I'm just going to log in. But for you here, you might want to sign up if you don't have an account, but I am just going to log in now. So I just logged in with my credentials into the Heroku website. So it's logging in, and then from here we can easily proceed. So the first thing to do, if you go through the page, you see you create new app, you see create a team, you see a lot of things, but we're going to create a new app. But down here, you can see we can do it either with the Node.js REST API, you build your REST API with Java, you build your REST API with Python. We're using Node.js, but you can use any of these frameworks, if you want to deploy your REST API to Heroku, all these frameworks are allowed. So for now, we're going to create a new app. That's what we're going to use. So I'm going to click create new app. Okay. So I'm going to create a new app, and then it's loading. So from here, all we need to do is put in the name of the app. So if we're building a social media app, we're going to call it a social media API. But for us now, we're building an article API. So we're going to call it an article app, you see, or article API. So the name must be in lowercase. So we're going to then change this here. We're going to make it lowercase. And then we're going to make these a lowercase here as well. And put an hyphen there. Okay. So now the name of the app is article API, and then it's loading here for us. If you check at the right hand side, you see that it is loading. Let's give it a while. Okay, so it's telling us the article API is not available. So this name is not available, and we have to give it a new name. So the new name we're going to give to it is going to be article course API. We could give it that, article course API. So that works well, and you can see the article course API name is available. So we create the app, click on the create app button, and then it loads another page for us where we can now deploy. You can see the resources, you can see the metrics, the activities, and the settings as well. So for the deploy, they have a documentation here that will help us deploy. I recommend first thing you need is to download and install the Heroku CLI in your laptop. I have that already because we're going to use the Heroku CLI to push our code and deploy the REST API to Heroku. So now, if you come here, you can see a lot of things here. So we're in the deploy tab. In the deploy tab here, you're going to see down. You have to make sure you install the Heroku CLI because that's what we're going to use, Heroku CLI. So in the Heroku CLI, you can use GitHub and other things here. We're going to follow these steps here. Install your CLI, which is very important, or else it's not going to work. So make sure you do that. I have my CLI installed already. So the first thing we're going to do is the Heroku login. We're going to do Heroku login, then we follow the steps down here, the git init, and most of it all. So let's start with the Heroku login, and we're going back to our code. So all we have to do is open a terminal here, and then we're going to use git bash. Yeah, we're going to use git bash. So you check down here, there's PowerShell and all of that, but we are going to look for the git bash because that's what we're going to use. So for the git bash now, this is where we're going to, the terminal here, we're going to use to actually deploy the API. So now the first thing is to do is the Heroku login, and then we follow the next steps here. So we're going to just say Heroku. Let's just copy it. So just like rather than typing, we can just copy it and just paste in there. So there we're going to say the Heroku login. Okay, now we just need to log in before we proceed via the terminal. And make sure you have the Heroku CLI installed. If you don't, some things are not going to work. Install the Heroku CLI down here. So after the Heroku login, make sure you install it. After the Heroku login, we have to, this is a prerequisite here. Install the Git and Heroku CLI. Make sure you have that installed. It's not going to work. So go to this documentation link here, and then you read more about the Heroku CLI, if you don't understand it much. So now, the next thing is to do the git init. So the git init will help us initialize our project in the git repository here. So all we just need, okay, is logging in. So press any key to open up the browser to log in, or you press Q to quit. So I'm just gonna press any key right now, and then we can proceed to log in. Okay, so I just pressed something now on my keyboard, and then it will take us to a browser here. And in this browser, this is where we're gonna log into to proceed with the deployment. So log in to, okay, we are logged in now. We are logged in now. So we are logged in. So now if you go back to the terminal, you see logged in as Joseph here, J18. So the next thing now is to initialize the git. We have to initialize that git now after we logged in and you saw it was successful. So we have to go use the git init. Okay. So we need to initialize this, and then before we actually create a remote. Okay, good. So it's initialized here. So reinitialize existing git repository. Okay, so now the next thing, the git init. After git init, we follow up with the next steps here, which is Heroku git remote. We're going to create a remote repository here. So we're going to create a remote repository, and then that should be easy to do. So we just have to copy that URL, that link there, that line there. We just copy it, and then we paste it in here to create a remote repository called Article Course API. Okay. All right, so that's just it. If you follow the steps, okay, so now the repository has been created, the remote repository has been created now. So all we need to do is run the git add and the commit, and then we push it. So it's just to follow the procedures there. It's actually really straightforward. But before that, we have to create a proc file. So create this file in order for Heroku to know the entrance, the entry file to the app you get. So we're going to create the proc file, and you're going to tell Heroku we're going to go through the index.js as the first entrance to the app you get. You have to go through the index.js. So we're telling Heroku the first file to look up to when you want to run the app, which is the index.js. So we're going to save our work, and then from there we can now git add, git commit, and then push it. So git add, I'm just going to come here and now say git add. Then I'm going to come here and go to git commit. We're going to commit it. So git commit. Okay, so that is it. You see all of this. Let's wait for it. Then after that, we now push to the master branch. To git push master Heroku master, yeah. Okay, so that's all we need to do. We now push it to the master branch, but failed to push some. Okay, it failed here. I don't know if it might work for some of you, but for me it failed. So there's some things I need to do right now to make it work. So I'm just going to say git pull, and then it's just already up to date. Then let's it still failed again. Okay, so I'm going to create another branch. I'm going to call that the master branch. So I just switched to another branch called the master branch. Let's try this branch. Okay, so Heroku push, I'm pushing to the master branch for now. Let me push to this master branch. I see it working, and then let's just wait. So I created a new branch. I had to create a new branch, then push to the new branch, and then let's wait. Okay, so it's done. So the new branch here it has been pushed to the master branch, which I just created. Okay. So let's see. Inside the settings file, the settings tab here, you see the settings tab, we are going to configure some variables here. So if you check, there's a place, okay, yeah, this is it. So we're going to configure some variables that we use in the .env file. So we're going to go to the .env file and we're going to get some variables to store on the Heroku site. So the Mongo URL, the secret key, all these variables in the .env file, we're going to put it inside there on the Heroku website so that the Heroku can know what these variables are when we actually run the app. So Mongo URL, we're going to copy it and we're going to put it inside here. Mongo URL, we paste the value, we add it. So we're going to add the secret key and we're going to add the ports as well. So I just copied the secret key now and then I'm adding it here. So the secret key, we copy it and then we add it here as well. Okay. Then the last one is the port. You just copy the port, which we use in this index.js. You just copy the port and then we paste it there as well. Okay, so the port now, we just copy it and then we paste the port in here, 9000. So we paste it there. Okay, so we add it up. So that is it there. And then, all right, so it works here. Okay, so make sure you have that configured and then we now proceed. So you try to open the app. Welcome to your new Heroku app. Okay, so if you want to see the Git base URL for the API, down here in the settings tab, your app can be found at this. You see, so we have the base URL here. So we're going to change from the local host, we're going to change to that base URL. So that is it. So going back to the app and then you just click on it. You can see here in the latest activity, it shows us that we had to put some variables, the port, the secret key, and the Mongo URL. It tells us what we just did there, the activity tab. So down here in the terminal, all we need to do is we're going to create another branch because we want to use the master branch. So we're going to create a master branch. Okay, so we just switched to a new branch, master, and then all we have to do is push to that master branch. So we're going to deploy the app to that master branch here. So that is what we are doing. So follow these procedures, follow it, and then watch till the end of the video to understand. So we are pushing to the master branch. So everything is now deploying. We're going to give it some time to deploy. Okay, it's done. So build succeeded. All right, so it's done, I think. So almost done, I guess. Okay, so it's done. So that way we can now proceed. Okay, so now we've pushed it to the master branch, and if we go back to Heroku, we can see, okay, let's refresh. We're gonna refresh the page. So the page have been refreshed, and you can see deployed, build successful here. And the build have been successful, and it's still showing us application error here. So there is something we need to actually really solve. So let's get this done immediately. We're going to our view log. We're going to go around the console and view our logs. So in here, we can actually check for the error, and we can see the error is in the API controller. So, and this mostly, let's say, happens when we just try to log in. But in order to log in, first of all, we need to replace the local host here. We need to replace this local host by the base URL from the Heroku. So doing that, we're going to see it's showing us an application error. So we have to go back to more of like the VS Code and check where where the error is coming from the code base. So if we go back to the VS Code, inside here we have some libraries, and I feel some libraries here are not compatible with the Heroku stuff here. So we need to get rid of some libraries that are not compatible. So first of all, I think, let's see, there's some libraries that do cause issues when we try to deploy to the Heroku. But let me just remove this port here, because I think we have that there already by default. So I'm getting rid of that port, and then coming here, let's go to the API controller. We have to get rid of this bycrypt library, because the bycrypt library I checked the console is what is causing this error. So we're going to replace this bycrypt library by a bycrypt.js. So we're going to use the bycrypt.js instead of just the normal bycrypt. We're going to use the bycrypt.js. So that will help us get rid of the error. So this is the link, and this is the documentation for the bycrypt.js. So now we're going to uninstall the bycrypt. So npm uninstall bycrypt. So we're going to remove that library, and we're going to replace it with the bycrypt.js. So I think that's what's causing this error. The library there is causing the error, so we're going to get that out. And we're going to replace it with npm install the bycrypt.js. So this is what we're going to use now. We're going to use the bycrypt.js instead of the bycrypt alone, just the bycrypt. So that should help us solve the error, and then we can now proceed. So you guys should take note of that. We are replacing the bycrypt with the bycrypt.js. That has a way of, the bycrypt has a way of preventing us from deploying to the Heroku. So that's why I'm getting rid of it. So we're going to go to do the git init, git add, the normal procedures. But before that, we have to also make sure that all the import statements, all the statements that we imported, I'll show you what I mean by that. We have to change the import statement up here to the bycrypt.js as well, because we are no more using the bycrypt. So we have to change this to the bycrypt.js. So make sure you change your import statement to the bycrypt.js. So we do that for the API controller. I think we also imported the bycrypt in the post controller, yeah. So we have to make sure that we're importing the bycrypt.js in all the use cases. Okay. So one more thing, inside our post controller, we also need to make sure that we change it from here, the bycrypt, to the bycrypt.js. Okay. So I think we are way forward now. We're moving forward. Okay. So we're gonna commit, we're gonna git commit, and then we're gonna push to the Heroku master. So now we've pushed it, we're pushing it, and it's deploying. So now you're gonna see it works with the bycrypt.js. I don't know why it doesn't work with bycrypt alone. I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna restart all dynamos. I'm gonna restart this. Okay. I'm gonna open the app. Alright, so let's try this one more time and check if it works on the Postman. So I'm gonna log in, so you can check get all posts. Okay, I think because we are using the local host here, let me copy the base URL. I'm gonna use the base URL in here. Make sure you replace all your local hosts by the base URL from Heroku. And then I'm gonna send the request. So that way you see it brings out all the JSON. So it works now. And if we put the wrong token, let's say we put the wrong token in here and we send, it's gonna tell us invalid token. So you see it's working now. So if you put the wrong token, it doesn't work. If we put the correct token, Okay, it's gonna show us right now. It's throwing an application error. It's throwing an application error, and in the console, let me check why it's throwing that error. Cannot set headers after they are sent to clients. Okay, I've seen the problem there. So going back here, we're gonna go to our post controller, and the post controller, it has to do with the middleware, It has to do with the middleware, the verified token middleware. That's where the error is coming from. Okay. So it's from the response here. I think I forgot to do something inside the verified token. So inside the verified token code, I want you to inside the verified token, I want you to wrap this arrow here. Let's wrap this arrow here. I'm gonna wrap it up inside a curly bracket. Okay, and then once it tells us, if it tells us invalid token, it should return this. It shouldn't move. Yeah. Okay, this should solve the error here. Okay. So all we have to do now is save the work and redeploy. We're gonna redeploy it. So okay, that is it. So that is the cause of the error. So let's redeploy the code again to the Heroku. So I'm gonna go to the git add, git commit, git push to the master branch, and then that does it. Okay. Okay, so okay. So now we've deployed the code again to the master branch, and we can now test it on a VS Code and on the Postman to be sure that it's working. So let me restart this, and then we're gonna go to the Postman, and we're gonna run this again. You see it works, it gets all the posts, and we're gonna run this again. So if we put a wrong token, you see it's not gonna work. Okay, there's invalid token used, and if you put the right token in here, it's gonna send again and tell us success. Okay, so it works now. And for the upload post, let's run this to check if we can actually upload a post. But first of all, remember we have to change this base URL to the Heroku base URL. So if you check the Heroku dashboard, you can see the base URL generated for you by Heroku, and we're gonna paste it in here. Okay, so now that way we can now upload a post, or only admin can use this. Okay, because that is why we are using a token. The token is not an admin token, it's a user token. So either you go to the database and you can change the user here to an admin, or but let's just leave it, you do that later on your own. So for the login route, we can now log in a user. You see it works. So everything works now, and in the next video, all we have to do now is build the Flutter mobile app, and we're gonna connect the Flutter mobile app to this REST API. So make sure you like, share, subscribe. Thank you.